In the year 2000, Neversoft, creators of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and the company Activision teamed up and created Spider-Man for the PS1, N64, Dreamcast, PC, and Game Boy Color. But we won't be talking about the Game Boy version, as that's its own game and not a port. All the footage you see will be the PlayStation 1 version. Spider-Man was an innovative game. He could punch, kick, and use 5 different web attacks. Web yank, web ball, web hands, and web shield. He could also use web sling. He could jump high, he could climb walls. The game opens with a remix of his old theme, and it's pretty dope. From that point on, there's a training menu where you can play through miscellaneous training rooms. These are optional. The voice of Spidey is Reno Romero. He's the voice of Spidey in Spider-Man Unlimited. He's Darth Revan, and he's also in one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 1, Tenchu. Also, he's already at full health.
I'm already at full health. I'm already at full health. I'm already at full health.
The characters have this weird thing where a lot of them will constantly be making a fist. Also, for no reason, I often quote this line.
Phase 1 completed. Let us begin Phase 2.
So the story is as follows. Someone frames Spidey for stealing technology at an expo. Venom thinks Spider-Man did it because he saw Spider-Man. Also, I enjoyed the voice of Venom in this game.
Again, innocence falls prey to the evil of Spider-Man.
Moving on to more good voices, guess who else is in this game?
Welcome, true believers and newcomers alike. Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here. Once again, we find our hero Peter Parker, better known around the world as the Amazing Spider-Man, in a heap of trouble. But this is just the beginning, Spidey fans. So get ready for a true superhero action thriller, packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, more supervillains than you can shake a web at, and of course, non-stop web-slinging, wall-crawling action.
That's right, Stan Lee. He narrates this story. Also, Black Cat is in this, and so is her pixely ass. I love Black Cat, but PS1 sexiness is hard to take seriously. Anyway, so you have a health bar and web cartridges. This game has a ton of hero cameos throughout, and you will even see Human Torch, Daredevil, Punisher, Captain America, and just other heroes in cutscenes or just like on billboards on a wall somewhere. They play very minor roles to the story, but it's still cool to see them. You start off swinging, which you can only swing twice before you need to grab a building. I tend to find the swinging platforming sections to be not as good as levels that are focused more on combat.
What's going on out here?
The game has puzzles. I'm not a big puzzle guy, but the game's puzzles are easy and pretty self-explanatory. It's not like some games where I don't even know what it wants me to do. So after you beat the bank, J. Jonah Jameson calls Peter Parker and he's like, "Parker, call the police! Scorpion is gonna kill me!" But why didn't J. Jonah Jameson call the police? Why did he call Peter Parker to call the police for him? It's the same amount of calls. Anyway, this is the distance between Scorpion and JJ, but yet you still have the amount of time to swing across the city and get there before Scorpion even attacks. What are they doing during this time? Are they just standing there? So here you fight Scorpion as your first boss. You just web him and attack him and web him and attack him and just repeat that. He's a pretty decent introductory boss, and I like his outfit. When you win, the police show up. The police chase you across the roof, destroying the whole goddamn city just because they think you stole something. These levels are platforming, swinging, and climbing, and this is where the game is weakest. Not that those are bad concepts, just that it's clunky and awkward to do them in this game. Plus, this just seems to continue way longer than it should be. If it was a brief segment, I doubt I'd be saying anything, but it just keeps going on. Afterwards, we see Venom has his own show, and he's kidnapped Mary Jane. But at the same time, Rhino is attacking a science building. We also get cross-promotion for a Tony Hawk game, so off we go to Rhino. Right off the bat, Black Cat gets destroyed. But since it's an E-game, being stabbed by a rhino horn doesn't kill her. So now we fight Rhino, and this is a fun boss battle. Again, the combat is where this game is often the best. Rhino will run at you and you jump over him to make him hit a wall or a generator. And you keep doing this till he loses. At that point, we see not real paramedics take Black Cat away. The game is hella cheesy. Normally I'm not into cheesy, but something about this is still entertaining to me. So anyway, we find Venom, we chase him, and we also get Spidey armor, which carries from level to level until it's gone. It's like bonus health that also gives you an outfit.
Where'd Spider-Wars go? Spider-Wars! Come out and play!
From here we fight Venom. Something weird is he can teleport. Maybe he's using camouflage, but I don't think so, because sometimes my attacks go right through him. Maybe Venom can teleport. I don't know. But this is the only thing I've ever seen him teleport in. The fight is fine though, and once you win, Venom retreats to the sewers. Now we have a bunch of sewer levels with lizard men. These levels consist of puzzles, web targeting, platforming, and fighting lizard men. These are some of the weaker levels in the game as well. They go on way too long. Again, these aren't bad, but they're just okay and long. Imagine watching a movie, and there's a scene you aren't interested in. And the scene just keeps going and going and going and lasts like 15 minutes. When it would have been just fine as like 5 minutes. That's what these levels feel like to me. So next you fight Venom again, while saving Mary Jane, and this is pretty good. You have to fight him while making sure the water doesn't rise too high or Mary Jane drowns. They also tried really hard to make Mary Jane sexy. Anyway, so Venom is kinda funny in this one, and he teams up with you. But only in cutscenes. Then he senses carnage and he leaves immediately. At this point, there are symbiote levels where you fight off various symbiotes. These are tougher than normal enemies, but a fire web destroys them. It seems the symbiotes are working for the bad guys. Here you learn Mysterio is the villain who framed you, and he turns into a giant and you must fight him.
Who's laughing now, Spidey? I believe it's me!
There you go to the final area, where you find Black Cat. She's totally okay, and they just captured her. And as far as I know, didn't do anything with her. So you start closing valves to blow up this place so they can't create any more symbiotes. Then you fight Doc Ock, which is relatively easy and a fine boss fight. Then you fight Carnage, which is a little cooler, and you beat him by kicking him into a sonic sound waves, since symbiotes hate loud noise and fire. Just when you think the game is over, the game turns the difficulty way up. It stops playing around. It gives Doc Ock Carnage's symbiote, creating Monster Ock. And now you gotta swing away from this dude who can kill you in one hit. This level's stressful because he's fast, and death means starting over again. It sounds like he's saying, "Where are you, boy? Die." And because the controls and the camera of this level are not helpful, every issue they have is shown here. It takes way too long to beat this part with no breaks in between. We are then treated to the ending cutscene where Captain America saves us and the place blows up. The villains go to jail. The heroes play cards.
Here. Look who's talking, Daredevil. You've been looking at my cards all night.
It's not my fault. Doc Ock's plan was horrible.
Once you beat the game, there's a character viewer, narrated by Stan Lee. There's also bonus costumes you can wear and comic panels to see. The game has easy, medium, and hard difficulty, but if you select Kid Mode, a voice will appear. And every time you highlight Kid Mode, a new voice appears.
Kid Mode!
Kid Mode.
Kid Mode!
Kid Mode.
Entering a cheat allows you to use What If Mode. It lets you play the game again, but with slight differences throughout. There's a lot of differences that would take its own video, so go check out K9's video on it. Also, Spider-Man didn't just promote Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk promoted Spider-Man, having him as a bonus character you can play as in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. With the success of the first one, a second one came in the works. It was released exclusively on the PlayStation 1. There was Game Boy Advance sequels too, but they're their own things and are more connected to the Game Boy Advance one, so I'm not talking about that. The second game was titled Enter Electro, and didn't have Neversoft creating it. Instead, it was created by Activision and Vicarious Visions. So what did Vicarious Visions make? They also made Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which is really weird, but they just made it years and years later. The game is basically the same type of gameplay as the first one, with some improvements. You can swing longer, Spidey has webs on his costume now, and web armpits. The swinging feels smoother, the jump attack is smoother, and the targeting system exists now. In other words, it looks slightly better, it plays slightly better, and it's so close to the feeling of the first game, it's basically a continuation. Despite all that, this game has much worse reviews, and I blame that on the story. It just wasn't as interesting. I personally also liked the first one better, but this one is underrated and deserves more praise than it got. Kid Mode is back.
Kid Mode.
Kid Mode.
Kid Mode. Kid Mode.
Kid Mode.
There's so many more costumes in this one, and I'll actually switch my costume throughout just to show a few. You type in Aunt May in the cheats to unlock everything. And it was weird because I met multiple kids growing up who mentioned this game and would mention the password while talking about this game. And that's how I learned the password. We didn't really have internet at that time, so people just spread the password. And so that's how I found it out. It's kind of cool. So the training room this time is the danger room. And Professor X and Rogue are there to help teach and train you, which I love. But when we start the game, we're greeted to Electro killing people to get his hands on this chest plate thing. We get Stan Lee narrating again, which is always a delight.
Welcome, true believers. Stan Lee here to bring you yet another scintillating tale of superhero daring-do. Now it appears that trouble has found our arachnid hero yet again, so get ready for a pulse-pounding, web-slinging tale of shocking revelations.
We then see Beast from X-Men in this level, saying these lines I've heard so much before that they're just part of my everyday quotes.
Beast, what's got you bounding about? Not a sentinel attack, I hope.
Greetings, my web-slinging compatriot. I noticed perchance your diurnal patrol and thought I would provide you with information of a practical and necessary nature.
Thanks for the show of interest, Beast. But I've been doing this for a while now. I think I'm okay.
Indeed. We shall see. Would you mind telling me what this is?
That's my trusty spider compass. It shows me where to go when I'm out and about.
I do believe you are correct, sir. Since you're so smart, why don't you try following me?
Now, this whole X-Men gimmick is pretty cool, Since the last game kept throwing superheroes at you, this one throws X-Men at you. Except it literally stops at this point. There's no more X-Men or mentions of them afterwards. Instead, Spider-Man lazily throws out hero names and we don't get to see them.
Hope you guys have Galactus hidden somewhere.
Anyway, we follow a dude in a trench coat, which is Electro, but some goons cause issues in the town and you have to stop them. What follows is just a lot of goons causing trouble to keep you from following. We go from streets to machine guns on buildings to just a bunch of them in a warehouse, which is one of my favorite levels. I enjoy this goon who tried to kill me. He won't swear because the game's rated E.
I ain't telling you spit!
So now you reach your first boss, Shocker. He goes to fight you so Electro can get away, and the building gets caught on fire. You use boxes to throw on him and then you hit him. He's pretty easy. He also seems less lifelike than anyone else. From here, it's just back to fighting goons who are distractions. We disarm bombs, we stop more machine guns, which is unique because we get some ice webbing here. Then we save a pilot. Then we do some swinging to make sure our tracer on Electro's coat has a good signal. Then we have 2 train yards which have lots of puzzles. These are actually some pretty good levels. You mainly solve the very easy puzzles and you fight the guards, and it's not too bad. Then we try to catch a train while Sandman attacks us. And he also threatens to change Spider-Man's skin tone.
I'm gonna pound you flat!
I'm gonna pound you flat!
From here we see Beetle, who I don't know anything about, but I don't get to learn anything because he just leaves the game and I don't see him again. By this point we're only halfway through the game and the only thing that's happened is we're still chasing Electro. But now we know he's gonna crash a party. Anyway, so here they hire the mob and their leader Hammerhead, which is a mobster with an adamantium forehead plate and a skull. This level's my favorite. You fight mobsters while saving hostages and it's pretty fun. Then you fight Hammerhead, and he seems pretty tough, but if you take his gun away at a safe distance, you can get some good hits on him. After this battle, we find out they kidnapped a woman named Dr. Watts. So because she's a doctor, we decide Dr. Connors of Biotech must know who she is. So you break into Biotech labs, solve a bunch of puzzles while dodging lasers, that I admit isn't that bad, but then there's a part 2 of it, and the puzzles get harder. They're still easy, but the first puzzle, you have to know that this button's way up here, so that's just stupid. Who's gonna immediately know that? And part 3 of Biotech is a very long climb of timing web zips through a level. And I am not a fan of this one. Worst level in the game, honestly. Anyway, we fight the Lizard, aka Kurt Connors, which I'm conflicted on this. Because on one hand, he's a really cool boss fight, and he climbs walls and ceilings. But on the other hand, you have to solve a formula in a tiny amount of time at the beginning of the fight, so you can use it on him during the fight. And if you don't solve it, you're gonna die. No redos. His health will take forever to go down. So you gotta solve that formula or you'll redo the level again. And that's something I think is dumb. I think there should be a way to try again if you failed, or be able to beat him in multiple ways. With that out of the way, we learn Electro has a suit so that he can amplify his powers, but he needs a giant gem to power it. Then we fight Sandman, and in this boss battle, you play with water valves to release water on Sandman and beat him while he's muddy. Honestly, it's not bad. I approve.
I'm gonna pound you flat!
So from here we know Electro is going to a museum to steal a gem and make his armor work. So we go in, and Electro somehow uses his electricity powers to bring samurai statues to life. So you have to fight them off. Then you have to climb up a very long exhibit that only goes straight up while he attacks you. Then you actually fight him, and you just have to utilize your jump attacks. Then you end up fighting the hyper version, which is when he finally gets the gem, puts it on his little chest plate, and now he's Hyper Electro. Also, how did this fall exactly work? So you fight Hyper Electro on some towers, in which you have to trick him into shooting some generators, which weakens him enough for you to hurt him. And that is the end. But it does end with villains saying the villains from the first one, so that's cool. The credits are weird, but they have character and I enjoy watching them, even though I don't understand the context of what's being said. This game also has a what if mode, but it's way lamer than the first one. And this, most of the changes are bananas. But go watch K9's video if you want to see all the changes. So why did we have so much X-Men stuff? Well, it turns out it was cross-promoting with X-Men Mutant Academy 2, which has Spider-Man as an unlockable, and you can even see a billboard for the game in the background. Overall, I love and really recommend the games. They're unique, they're special, they for sure aren't perfect or even Spidey's best games, but they're still fun. Thanks for watching. Consider liking and subscribing for more content. I plan on making so much more, and I could always use the subscribers.